here we go. Another team that I am ready to get going here. Watch out for this team.
Super Bowl.
Exactly right, because they don't have to pay their quarterback, and they have said, let's go. Houston Texans.
Yeah.
If you're a Texan, man, you got to be excited. We'll start with Joe Mixon, who's been traded from the Bengals.
Yeah.
He's going to be the running back. They've got a tight end, Dalton Schultz, who's been paid $36 million over 3 years. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I thought Noah Brown was stiff. He got a 1 year extension, but just the $4 million. But the big one for me, Stephon Diggs, 1 year, $22.5 million. Just a 1 year contract. They are going all in. And they already have a lot of talent that we haven't mentioned. So they are the people they're adding, not to mention the punter there, Tommy Townsend. I should not skip over that punters, mate. But they have spent a lot of money on defense as well. But we're an offensive juggernaut right here, the Aces. And we're here to help your fantasy teams and your bets on offense. Talk to me, Sip. What do you expect out of the Texans? Because where do you start?
To be honest? I think they surprised a lot of people last year with their rookie quarterback. Incredible season. Really, really good season for them. And they just kind of turned it on when they needed to and got going. And they've obviously identified that and they've gone, let's go. And maybe it's time to push and get back to where we've always wanted to be. And getting Joe Mixon as their running back is massive. They had Singletary last year, I think, for a little bit and didn't quite get that going. But having him in there is going to be massive. So a great addition for them. I think they had Dalton Schultz last year. They've obviously just now paid him and given him the contract that he's
re-signed him for 36.
So just probably deserved. Yeah, he was playing good ball in Dallas, and they had a pretty solid year for him last year. But yeah, I mean, getting Stephon Diggs is wow. I mean, that's just a guy that CJ Stroud can just go, here we go. I mean, a guy that's a deep threat, a guy that just route running is incredible, and he's going to help that young guy come a long way. And I think they can come out winning their division and really setting themselves up to shake it up and have a good crack at it. So I'm on board the Texans. Absolutely.
Nico Collins, Tank Dell, these guys were like
young guys with speed. They're
just
again, all their route running is absolutely incredible. And obviously we're here to help your offense, as we said, but they've certainly got a couple of things on defense as well. And I think there can be a really well-established team. And I really think they'll be right up there.
Scary. Damon Pierce as well, running back that can just pound the ball and pound the rock. But you'd think Mixon would be a bit of a bell cow, don't you? Think they'd use him a lot, or you reckon they might mix it up and save him for the back end?
I don't know. I think they're just going to pound the rock with him, and I think he's one to definitely watch on the old fantasy watch for sure, because I think he's a third down guy and can get some scores for you.
Cam Akers is there as well, I noticed.
Just about how healthy he kind of gets going too. So that'll be an interesting watch for him. But certainly getting those caliber of players is going to be massive.
We'll go to the Colts now, and the Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman has re-signed. He's the guy. He's your wide receiver.
Absolutely.
3 years, $70 million. That's a lot of money. But the interesting one is the quarterback situation. We know that Richardson, he break his collarbone or something last year,
or shoulder or something.
But they've got Joe Flacco to get there for 1 year, $8.7 million, because he had such
keeps going.
The old boy cannot be stopped, and he probably had his best year for a long time.
Played some solid ball there
last
in the end.
year.
Yeah.
He knows how to sling the ball. We know he's going to have a crack, but interesting to see what happens there. Outside of that, not a lot else happening.
Yeah, I mean they've. It's an interesting one for them. They haven't really picked up too much there. Obviously, getting Richardson back, hopefully healthy, is going to be big for him, and Jonathan Taylor as well. He didn't play a lot of football last year, and he's a really good running back. So, at his best, he's a top 5 fantasy option for you.
Well,
There's no doubt.
Slide this year, big time, won't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
No one's talking about him,
and I think he will, just based on how much football that he played last year. But that guy's a star. So, I still think their O-line's pretty solid in that to help there, and their head coach is absolute genius when it comes to getting a scheme sorted for him from the offensive point of view. So,
what do you say?
Shane Strickland was an offensive coordinator of Philadelphia and got the job last year as a head coach, and he was the play caller with the Eagles on our Super Bowl run. So
there you go.
He's a very, very smart man and knows what he's doing. And I think that's why you actually saw him really perform well, even though you saw him and they didn't have necessarily the stars, but he knows the type of players that he has. runs a system that needs to work that way, and it works. So if he can get Jonathan Taylor back in that area, then he could be a bit of a shock for everyone, which is good.
Love it. Jacksonville Jaguars, the big in for me is Gabe Davis, 3 years, $39 million from the Bills. They lost Ridley to the Titans. We'll get to that shortly. Mac Jones heads there from the Patriots. Not that we need to worry too much. Devin Duvernay, who I like from the Ravens, he was a real consistent guy, but nothing to really talk about here. But Gabe Davis is the main offensive, player at the Jags. That will be interesting to see how he goes.
Yeah, good pickup. Be a good pickup if you lost Ridley, so that's a really good pickup. They've still got Christian Kirk there too. That can be obviously their other option, and he's got some genuine speed. And their running back room's pretty solid, along with Trevor Lawrence. So I never really know with the Jaguars. I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence, to be honest. I know he's good, but I just don't know yet. And but certainly picking up Gabe Davis is a good one for him. And I don't know. I don't know what to expect from the Jaguars. I think that division's always up for grabs. But yeah, I just think the Texans are slightly ahead of them, and maybe the Jaguars are after them. But I think they can be good enough. Certainly, they've got getting Gabe Davis is good, but we'll see what happens from there.
Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Hollywood Brown. I'm really excited to see the speed back again. We'll talk about Xavier Worthy and the speed demon that was picked up in the draft. But Hollywood Brown, they didn't have any receivers last year, and they won the Super Bowl. Travis Kelce's getting a little bit older.
Yep.
I think his workload has to come down. But blokes like Hollywood Brown and Rice and whatnot, I think they're going to get a lot of volume. Only the 1 year, $7 million. So it's not they're kind of making him prove it.
Yep.
But if you've got Mahomes at quarterback, you'd think that Hollywood Brown would be a great. I don't know where he'd go in your draft in fantasy, but you can rely on him because of the work he's going to get.
He's going to be a great pickup for him. I mean, we know Mahomes uses guys that, as you said, there was literally, you probably look at this time last year and we go, who is he going to throw to besides Travis? And they found a way to get it done. So, again, another genius head coach that's a well-oiled machine and knows what he's doing, and adding someone like that's going to be massive. And they went to the draft as well, and now I think they've picked up arguably the best wide receiver in the draft, and Mahomes will use him too, which we'll speak about a bit later on. But I look, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, mate. They're a great team, and getting Hollywood Brown's going to be massive for him. So I think they're kind of ready to go again.
A lot of speed is back this year.
A lot of speed for him. So. It's they're ready to go again.
We'll keep flying through. Las Vegas Raiders, Gardner Minshew, 2 year, $25 million contract. Alexander Madison at running back. Amir Abdullah re-signed at running back, but it's all Devontae Adams in terms of if I think of their offense. It's just not a great place for him to be. I don't like this. I don't really know. There's nothing to really talk about here.
Yeah, like signing Minshew. Yep, okay. He looks like he's obviously going to be the number one guy right now, and that's kind of all there is to it, to be honest. So they pick up Matheson, but not sure whether he's going to be running back 1 or 2, and obviously relying heavily on Adams, and Jacoby Myers obviously went well last year, but it's the other one obviously they picked up in the draft is going to be an interesting one for him. See how they get going on the offense side of things, but. It's going to be an interesting one, particularly from the quarterback. So, I'm not really expecting too much from the old Raiders.
Either am I. Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are an interesting one. They've lost a lot of pieces. Their running back, Austin Eckler, we'll talk about him later, where he went. But they've picked up a couple of running backs from my boys, the Ravens. When Gus Edwards is probably the most exciting. J.K. Dobbins off some serious injuries. He's there as well. So we know it's a new head coach, and I know his brother's at the Ravens, so he clearly respects them. But I think tight end Will Dissly, 3 years, $14 million to replace Everett that's gone. But not a lot to like here, and a lot of issues for mine. I think Herbert's a gun quarterback. They've protected him. They've got that offensive line's gone up, so he might get more time in the pocket. I trust he'll find whoever's out there, but Quinton Johnson, they're hyping him up. If you saw what he did last year, there wasn't much there, and he's going to have even more attention now that Keenan Allen's not there. So I think it's a Josh Palmer or bust.
Yeah, well, I even heard that Quinton Johnson's not even safe to make the roster, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, that's a little word on the street right now that he's kind of battling to even be there. You know, even though he's only had 1 year there, it's interesting what's going on. Potentially internally. Obviously, a new head coach comes along and maybe sees something different. So, a little word on the street that he's actually not safe there at all. So, that's kind of shaking things up a little bit for him too. But yeah, I don't know with the Chargers. They've showed a lot of promise over the last few years, and each year I've seen him since they've had Herbert. It's like, geez, this is a good team on paper. Like, they could really do some damage, and maybe they can be the guys that beat the Chiefs, being in the same division. And probably just been a little disappointing in the end and don't know what to expect. So I just find it tough when you don't have any stars from a wide receiver point of view to be able to throw it to. And it'll be interesting.
Mike Williams and Keenan Allen
both
not
gone.
there anymore.
Yeah,
Eckler gone. It's a completely new team.
Eckler's gone too. So they're three main guys on offense. So they were their potent offense and mainly their ball carriers.
New head
They
coach.
were all not there. So
It's ugly.
Yeah, it's
at the
interesting.
moment. Los Angeles Rams. We don't have a lot here either. Jimmy G went there for 1 year as a backup quarterback. We have wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson, 1 year, $5 million. He was pretty quick and impressive at times. With tight end Colby Parkinson, 3 years, $22.5 million. Nothing to report really. It's just going to be. Puka Nakua and what's his name? I'm trying to think of. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
That's the one. They're the guys.
Yep.
And, their running back room is strong.
That's right.
So
they've loaded up on the offensive line. Obviously, we don't worry about that from a fantasy point of view, but they've seemed to load it up on the offensive line to try and protect their quarterback a little bit more. Stafford's obviously Stafford, and
they'll be good.
I think they'll be fine. Obviously, they're competing with San Francisco in their division, but I still think that they've got a really good offense, and their running back in Kyron Williams is obviously really, really good and put up some serious fantasy numbers last year. So I think he's going to come right up
He'll be
the fantasy draft and be massive for him. So no, I still think they're fine. I think adding stuff on their offensive line they really, really needed, and they'll be ready to go again.
The guy that you just mentioned, Kyron Williams, with the two offensive guards and whatnot getting paid $50 million each, Stafford under center, amazing wide receiver room. It's looking really exciting for them on offense.
Yes,
they're a team that you go, well, my strategy with fantasy especially is if you see weapons everywhere, get some of those players in your team, and especially him. He was, once he come back from injury last year, he was a league winner.
He was. I'll say. Obviously, we don't talk about defense too much, but obviously losing Aaron Donald's going to be massive for him too. So,
which means a lot of playing from behind,
a lot of maybe playing from behind. Who's going to get the sacks for him on the defensive side? I know a lot of people in fantasy land like to pick the Rams because they've got Aaron Donald out there from a sacks point of view, but it'll be interesting to see who can kind of turn up for him, and maybe there's going to be more of an offensive kind of powered type of game. You might see a few 34-31s and 40-37s.
Which
so
we love.
We love that.
We love that.
Let's go.
As long as Stafford stays healthy, for sure.
That's right.
They structured his contract. I saw the other day. Tom Brady, geez, he took pay cuts and just won. Everyone else wants more money.
That's right.
Miami Dolphins, the only guy I've highlighted here is tight end Jonnu Smith. He was pretty impressive. He's kind of shopped around the last few years, but when he's used properly, he's explosive. So he got a 2-year, $10 million contract. They are stacked everywhere. If we speak about Miami Dolphins, you know who we're thinking about.
No doubt.
It's all about the speed at
doubt.
running back and wide receiver. So not a lot to report here in free agency, mate.
No, they're just set up ready to go again. They've got what they need, and they're going to be ready to kind of go out in there and explode again. So I expect them to be right up there, and hopefully they just kind of continue to build throughout the season rather than kind of falling off like they did towards the back end. But some serious talent on that offensive side, and I expect them to be right up there.
Minnesota Vikings have also hit free agency. They picked up running back Aaron Jones from the Packers on a 1-year, $7 million contract, and QB Sam Darnold, 1-year, $10 million contract. I really like that because they got this young kid who they've picked up in the draft, and I know Sam Darnold isn't as bad. I reckon he's better than people think, and being at San Fran last year, being a good system, he was number one pick, so it's not like he can't play. He's a great backup that they need someone to throw to Justin Jefferson and the boys. So I'm really excited about having Darnold as a strong backup because their QB room it was a bit ugly once Kirk Cousins got injured last year, and all the talent they've got on offense. If you're taking Justin Jefferson, you need to have someone that is capable.
No doubt.
But Aaron Jones at running back, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a good pickup for him. I think their running back room's probably been a little light on over the last couple of years, so having Aaron Jones is going to be good as long as he can stay on the park. I know the last couple of years he's kind of really struggled with injury and hasn't been able to kind of put 6 or 7 games together in a row, but he's obviously is a great addition for him, very, very strong. So, Ty Chandler can obviously come in and play a role as their backup too. He's obviously very strong and can get the job done. And, they've got some good, obviously, wide receivers. We know which one's obviously their star, but he's got some good guys around him as well. But don't be surprised if you see Darnold start. So as well, obviously with a rookie quarterback that they got, don't be surprised if potentially he starts the season.
That.
How long it goes for, I don't know, but whether or not that's a fantasy thing or not, but to put in there. But I would expect he could possibly start the season and then see what happens from there, going from about week 5 onwards.
Well said. We move on to New England Patriots. And there's a fair few players here that I'll highlight. I think we'll start with wide receiver KJ Osborne, just a little 1 year, $4 million, but he come from the Vikings.
Yep.
Tight end Austin Hooper, he's got the 1 year, $4.2 million contract. But then we move our way up as well. They've extended Hunter Henry, who I think is one of their main targets.
Yep, no doubt.
3 year, $27 million. So that's a fair chunk of their dough. But wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, he's been paid $20 million pretty much for 3 years.
Yep.
He was someone that come alive last year and was a real hard, tough grind of a year.
Absolutely.
And running back Antonio Gibson, 3 years, $11.2 million, which is not too bad for a running back.
Yeah.
Which, Zeke's come out of that lineup. Not sure who will be the starting running back there, but it's interesting, the New England Patriots. They've been hard to watch the last couple of years with Mac Jones.
Maybe new coach now in their head coach now to kind of shake things up a little bit. And it'll be interesting to watch because their head coach obviously has been in that system for a long time. So I'll be interested to see if there's anything changes or what he does. Can he bring anything that's kind of new? And the offense has been hard to watch for the last couple of years, obviously, with Mac Jones in there as their quarterback previously. And they obviously went to the draft in that as well, and they got Jacoby Brissett. So, who knows who's going to start from there for them. But, Gibson as can be their 1 or 2 back. They've obviously got Stevenson there as well already, who's been their main back for the last couple of years. But interesting one to watch for the Patriots. I mean, I don't expect them to probably be as bad as what they were last year. But again, tough division when you've got Miami in there doing their thing. And it'll be one to watch for sure, but probably not as bad. I don't think they'll be as bad as what they were last year.
Let's be honest, mate. Everyone's had enough of the Patriots. I could watch the Patriots lose for years.
That's right.
Hey?
They've won enough over the years, so if they continue to lose, it's all right. I don't have any problem with it either, but hopefully, I wouldn't say they're a 4-12 team maybe, but I have no problem with them continuing to lose, mate. Don't worry about that.
Hopefully they can play some offense because big Bill Belichick, he was very happy with them locking games down, wasn't he?
He loved the 10-6 game, didn't he?
Did he ever?
Oh, gee.
New Orleans Saints, mate, we're probably going to skip over this. Didn't actually do too much. They're very stale. So we'll move through there. There's not a lot to report. New York Giants, wow. I mean, we're probably going to talk about who they lost. There's a doco at the moment, but look, they signed Brian Burns, who's on defense, 5 years, $150 million from the Panthers. In the process, they've lost Saquon Barkley, and they've picked up Devin Singletary as their running back, who's on a 1 year deal, but Drew Lock at quarterback as a backup. But outside of that, I mean, they've obviously drafted a superstar wide receiver we'll get to in the next podcast, but nothing that is exciting me. And I'm not a Giants fan, but I love watching the Giants and I want to see them well because we all travel to New York.
I hate the Giants.
I know you hate them, but everyone goes to New York and they watch a game and they've been puked for so long. Mate, nothing to really report here, is there?
No good drafting a wide receiver if you don't have a quarterback to be able to throw him the ball. So that's all I'll say there. Let's move on.
Let's move through. Talk about New York and quarterbacks. New York Jets. Tyrod Taylor, 2 years, 18 mil. I love it as a backup. We know Aaron Rodgers is back, and I can't wait. This team is the big one I'm excited about. Mike Williams, Magic Mike from the Chargers, who went down with an ACL. He was paid a lot of money, and he's going to be on a 1 year deal, and he's paid quite nicely. But you merge him in with what they've got on all the other weapons they've got there in the running back room as well. Aaron Rodgers is back. They've given a little bit more on offense on the line there, but the Jets. What are we with that? They didn't need to do too much because they've got a lot of weapons. They just need the quarterback and they needed protection, they got great defense. They are going to be good this year. Yeah,
I expect them to be really good. Obviously, from a defensive point of view too, they got Hassan Reddick, and obviously he's kind of holding out right now, but he's a Jet, so I don't mean to say obviously he's a New York Jet, but he is. So he is a superstar, and hopefully they can sort that out pretty soon because they need him out on the park to be able to play. And they are. I think they're ready to go. Obviously, hopefully Rodgers stays healthy because their defense is elite. The offense gets going. Hopefully, Mike Williams stays healthy, and they're a big one. They're going to be their competition with Miami this year for their division, and I think finally they can break the hoodoo of missing out on playoffs and can get there.
Can you see me getting excited?
You are. You're bouncing up off your seat right now.
It's like, Philadelphia Eagles time. Oh, my God. Saquon Barkley at running back, 3 years, $37 million. Mate, there's a lot of other players there that they've picked up. Obviously, Kenny Pickett as a backup QB from the Steelers. Devontae Parker with the 1 year deal. He comes across from the Patriots, I believe.
Yep.
But they don't need any more wide receivers. They've already got A.J. Brown and Smith. The QB is as good as it gets, and that offensive line. Now, Jason Kelce not being there. Talk to me about what will that impact, or is Saquon Barkley going to pick up the pieces?
Oh, look, I think losing Jason is going to be massive. Like, Kelce's been in that system for such a long time and is an Eagles legend, and losing him automatically is going to be quite tough. And he's probably certainly helped Jalen over his last few years with the communication side of things and getting the offensive right, and losing him is going to be massive. But, you know, the guy that's going to come in and help him out there has been they drafted 2 years ago, and he's going to come in straight away, I think, and have an influence. He played guard for him last year and will take over that role at center, and it's going to be massive for him. So he's been able to learn under Kelce for a few years now. And, I just expect him to kind of just take over and do his thing. So that won't be too hard there. Their offensive line's still legit. Quarterback's their quarterback. Got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith there. And big old Saquon with his quads is going to be able to pound the footy. So they've gone all out. They know they've gone all out. They've got a few guys on defense there as well that they've gone all out on. And they're really trying to push again for another Super Bowl run.
With Dallas not doing a lot and Eagles doing, their defense was pretty poor last year, but they've got a few pieces there.
Yeah.
Made exciting times.
Yeah, there's not much to challenge for them, I think, in their division right now with the Giants, Washington, and Dallas. You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, it's completely opened up for them, to be honest.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Well, a little inside here, but Jordan Maliata was at a little function that we were kindly invited to, and I asked him, the tush push, is it going to continue? He looked at me like I was mad. He goes, of course it's going to fucking continue. So if you think Saquon's getting goal line, Jalen...
coach and the offensive coordinator might not even call it. They'll just might do it themselves no matter what. So,
which is disappointing because I wanted
Keelan Moore's the new offensive coordinator there, and he's obviously been good where he's been at previously, and...
is he the guy from Dallas and the Chargers?
Dallas and went to the Chargers.
So he's left the Chargers as well.
Now, and so they got him in now. And, he's obviously very, very good play caller. And I assume for him to do a pretty good job with the caliber of players that he's got.
Well, it'd be very. I reckon I could do a good job with no idea.
I reckon I could too.
I'd be saying just give it
to AJ
or give it to Barkley. Well, exciting times. Pittsburgh Steelers QB battle. Russell Wilson on a 1 year deal there with Justin Fields. That is massive.
Massive.
No one knows what's going to happen there. A little just to FYI, we have Cordell Patterson. He's going to be there as running back or whatever you want, but we know he can sometimes fire up. Not a lot else to talk about, mate. Van Jefferson, but the Steelers, they lost Deontay Johnson that we spoke about earlier.
They did, yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, the quarterback battle is obviously the biggest one out of all of that, picking up Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I would expect Wilson to start, but that is That is going to be very, very tight because they're two players that are probably pretty similar. It just depends on if you want to go with youth or experience. So one to look out for there, I would say.
And Van Jefferson, I mean, I brought his name up because it's like he might be the wide receiver 2 or 3.
Oh, that's right.
George Pickens will be the 1.
Yeah.
And you got Najee Harris and Jalen Warren there, but there's not a lot there.
Nah,
it's more of a
Quez Watkins too. He was a Philadelphia guy, and he's got some serious speed too. So maybe they might use him as well as a deep threat. And he was obviously a pretty handy player for the Eagles when he was there. So maybe he might be part of it too. So wait and see.
Few more to go. San Fran 49ers obviously made the Super Bowl and lost in overtime. They probably could have been the champs if you watched the replay. Nothing to really report on offense. They have Josh Dobbs on a 1-year, $2 million contract to replace Darnold, but that's not even really worth talking about right now. It's the exact same team.
Yep.
I think Ayuk's been holding out. He's just returned to training camp.
He's gone to training camp, but it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens from there. But I think they've got everything that they need, so they're just ready to go.
And if you watch the documentary, you really understand, and as a betting man on NFL, that if Deebo Samuel is not playing, their offense doesn't click, and it was a real eye-opener. Even though they have all the weapons in other areas, it's just amazing how important he is to their team. So
no doubt.
Just to watch that this year. Seattle Seahawks, tight end Noah Fant, he gets a 2-year, $21 million contract. QB Sam Howell has been traded from the Commanders.
Yes.
So he'll be there fighting for a job, but nothing exciting there, mate. We could probably move on from Seattle.
We can move on,
We know DK Metcalf is the man.
Yep.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free agency. Did they do much? No. Did they re-sign some players? Yes. QB Baker Mayfield got paid 3 years and $115 million. And Mike Evans, he said, look at my numbers, look at what I've done. And they paid the man 2 years, $52 million. He deserved that. Not a lot to report though, mate. We've got Chase Edmonds re-signed there. It's going to be interesting to see. Their offensive coordinator is now at the Panthers. Bit of a worry for me. I don't like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a lot. I thought they they kind of exceeded what everyone's expectations
and being
were.
the division that they were into, it's like you make it a little bit easier. As I said, the NFC South is literally just open slather right now, and obviously they were just the team to come out of it in the end. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really expect too much from the Bucs again. Obviously, Baker, well deserved. Obviously, he had a few tough years on minimum vets and things like that, and now he had a great season last year. He had a couple of guys he could really get the ball to, and that, and it worked for him. But I probably don't expect the same this year out of the Bucs.
Interesting one here. This is probably top 5 excitement, but the Tennessee Titans have had a crack.
Yeah.
New coach. Right? New coach, Derrick Henry's gone. In comes Tony Pollard. 3 years, $24 million. Now, that's a guy that the Dallas Cowboys have lost and haven't really replaced. Calvin Ridley, 4 years, $92 million. Wide receiver 1. He goes there. They've got a lot going for them. They obviously lost the King Henry. Tyler Boyd is going to be there from the Bengals as well. And Will Levis goes into another year as their QB1. And he looked pretty good. He was one of those guys that was not bad to watch when he got going. But I won't talk too much, but they've got Snead on defense as well from the Chiefs at cornerback. They spent a lot of money, Awuzie as well at cornerback. They spent a lot of money on both sides of the ball. They're having a fair income crack, and I thought the Titans were cooked. You've also got DeAndre Hopkins there. So offensively, when I read out Pollard, Hopkins, Boyd, and Calvin Ridley, and then you got Okonwu, who's like not a bad tight end. It's pretty exciting, mate.
Yeah, and got Traylon Burks as well there, who they drafted a couple of years ago. So on paper, they actually look pretty solid. They really do. And it would just be the quarterback thing for me. See how much Will Levis has developed. A new head coach, which means a new playbook and that for him. So it'll be interesting. Pollard fell away a little bit last year. I know he probably wasn't like super healthy and things like that, but good enough to obviously get what he got. Incredible year the year before. But maybe a fresh start him in a new spot's going to be really good for him as well. And obviously picking up Calvin Ridley is massive. Having Hopkins and Ridley, that could be really, really dangerous. So bit of a smoky, I reckon, the Titans. A little bit of a smoky. So I think they've done very well. I think they've done very, very well, and that can be a little bit of a smoky for them. They could upset a few teams in that and maybe shake it up a little bit.
Well said, mate. And the last team here we have today on the program, This is our free agency, new faces, new places podcast. Washington Commanders, they have had a little bit of movement. We'll start with Austin Eckler on a 2-year, $11.4 million deal at running back. He comes from the Chargers. He looked like he was on a treadmill last year. You would guess he was injured a lot. He's someone that I think will slot a lot, right down the charts in fantasy. And you'd think he's going to get a bit of work. They've got some great weapons. Jamison Crowder there at wide receiver for a 1-year deal. Nothing really special. But tight end, Zach Ertz, 1 year, $5 million. Mate, looking at them, they've spent a fair bit of money on the defense. There's a lot of movement, but no one's really been paid a stack. Yep. And their offense, I think it's got QB there, Marcus Mariota, a 1-year deal for $6 million. But we know they picked up a quarterback, I think, with pick 2 in the draft. Correct. So we'll talk about that in our next podcast. But, mate, when I see rookie QBs, I get a little bit concerned. Yep. And, I'm a bit worried about Washington Commanders. I don't think they did enough.
Yeah, I think obviously getting Austin is a great addition. I'm not too sure on how their O-line. I know they picked up one guy there, Tyler Biase, is 3 year, $30 million. He can really help him. He's been really good for Dallas over the last few years. And, obviously he's a welcoming addition from an O-line point of view. So maybe that helps their run game, which means that helps Eckler. So I think Washington done incredible to get him on a 2-year, $11 million deal.
Wow.
But that probably that means also that Eckler hasn't been able to stay out on the field for long enough, and he has been injured pretty consistently for the last 2 years. And I know that from a personal point of view because I had him in my fantasy, so he's destroyed me for the last couple of years. But a welcoming addition for him, but I can't say I expect too much from the Commanders. I think that if we're relying on Eckler a bit too much, then they've probably got some problems elsewhere. So rookie quarterback, as you said, which we'll speak about in our next podcast. But can't say I expect too much from the old Commanders this year.
Mate, I agree with you. Well, that wraps up our NFL free agency podcast, new faces in new places. I think to wrap it up, mate, I think the Titans have done pretty well, but the Bears are going to be very exciting. Atlanta, they'll be very exciting as well. And I just get really excited about my boy Derrick Henry at the Ravens, mate. I think that's probably, we might have missed, but we've covered a lot there, guys. We hope you appreciate the in-depth analysis. Hopefully it brings you up to speed because there are a lot of new faces and new places, and you need to be all over this. So we hope you enjoyed our Aces NFL show on free agency, and we'll see you next week for our another podcast. That'll be all about the NFL draft, so you can meet all the new faces for this year's fantasy. See you next week.